So to make a shirt top, button down shirt top, I got the 2 pieces of back fabric. How I got this measurements, the hip is the biggest size part of this my client, so I divided the hip by 4, then I added like 3 or 4 inches to it, just to be on safer side. It's better if it's plenty and you have to trim it up down when it is not enough. So I folded, it's on fold now. So after it's on fold, I just slash it open at this side because I want to use this part for the buttonhole and the button allowance. So the first thing you will do is, at this edge that I slashed, fold your fabric by 2 or 1.5, from 1.5 inches to 2 inches. I'll be using 2 inches. I want it a bit bold, so I'll fold 2 inch like this. Make sure it's 2 inch, and if you are using 1.5, make sure it's 1.5 inch. Measure it, make sure you have that. If you have your iron, you can be ironing it as you go, but I will just be pinning it for this tutorial sake. So this is 2 inch. You make sure you fold 2 inch all the way down at this part. 2 inch, 2 inch. Just make sure you have your 2 inch here. This will serve as your buttonhole and button allowance at the end of the day. Okay, so 2 inch. And 2 inch. Okay, now after you've gotten this 2 inch, you have folded your allowance for button and buttonhole. The next thing you will do is this 2 inch, divide it by 2. Divide it by 2. Mark it. That's 1. I'm dividing this fold, what I fold like this, I'm dividing them into 2. 1 inch. 2 divided by 2 will give you 1. So 1 inch all the way down. So I'm going to use my ruler and mark it. It will not be easy because of this pen, but I'll just walk around that and put my pen later. Okay. I'll put the pen back. I don't want anything shifting. Until I get to the end there, I'm going to mark it straight. Like so. Put back my pen. This one. So we divided our 2 inches by 2, and that is what I marked now. So when you divide 2 by 2, you have 1 inch, and then you mark it straight like so. Okay, so the next thing you will do now is to put all your measurements. Okay, now all your measurements will start from this new line. You are not starting from this folded part now. You are starting on this new 1 inch line. You see, 1 inch is inside, so you are starting like this. If you start from here, you have run your shirt. That means you need to look for another fabric to fold this. So what you will do is you start all your marking from this line, this new 1 line here like this. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, our shoulder is 15. I added that's 7.5. I added 1 inch for joining there. That's 8 inches. The same. I want to get a straight line for that armhole line, so I'll mark a straight line like so. So mark a straight line. Okay, for the shoulder slope, you come down by 1 inch like this, and then remember you are starting from this new line, not from this folded edge. So you go in by 3 inches or 2.5 inches, depending on your division there. Okay, then you connect it. This now is our shoulder slope. The next thing is to mark the armhole depth. The same thing, shoulder divided by 2. I'm using the same thing here. It works all the time. And then I'm marking the armhole depth. This part is called the arm size. Okay, the depth I will divide by 2, that's 4 inch. I'll mark 3/4, 0.75 for the front armhole cuff. Okay, let's leave it that way. When I'm done with the other measurements, I'm going to be cuffing that. So the next thing you will do is to mark all your vertical lines from shoulder to bust. A shoulder to bust is 11.5 plus half inch, that's 12. Okay, so I brought back my tape to that 11.5 to continue my measurement. A shoulder to waist is 18, and then I'm using the whole of this 34 for the length. If it's too long later I can reduce it, but for now I'm leaving it like this. Okay, after that I want to mark straight line on those marked points. So I'll come this way. I'm using this ruler to get my angle 45 degree on the waist, and then this part will serve as the hemline or the hem, that's the hip line, hip. Okay, a bust, you divide the bust by 4. You divide the bust by 4. Okay, for our home bust we have 41 divided by 4, that's 10.25. I'm adding 1 inch for ease. It's a very free shirt. I'll add 1 inch for ease, and I'll add 1 inch for side seam allowance. So that's 11.25, then 12.25. So we have 12.25 here. The same thing for the waist, supposed to be 34, that's 8.5. When divided by 4, I'm adding 2 inch to it. 8.5 plus 2 inch will give us 10.5. All your marking should start on this new line, don't forget that. Okay, and then our hip is 44, that's 11 plus 2, 13. Okay, so I will be connecting all my lines. So any part that is sharp, you want to blend it in. You don't want anything to be sharp anywhere. Okay, when I'm done, I'll be shaping the down part. Because you can't just leave your top like this, having pointy edge. So I'll be covering it when I am done joining the front to the back. But for now, I'm leaving it like that. And then the next thing is to connect your armhole cuff, the arm size. And then for your collar neck, it's advisable it's not a wide neck, so I'll be using 3.5 by 3 inches or by 3.5, depending on your. I'll be using, it's elderly, I don't want the thing to be choking, so 3.5 by 3.5, and then with my cuff I will connect that. And then when cutting, I'm not going to cut from here, I'm going to cut like this. Once I finish putting this stay on this part, I'll be trimming off any excess there. So for now I'm cutting like this. This is the front. Okay, so for the back, I folded my fabric into 2 using the hip divided by 4 plus the sewing allowance. Okay, so the first thing I will do also, just like I did for the front, it's just that the back is having a folded edge at this part, unlike the front that has button hole and button allowance. So you are not going to slash anything over except you have a design that you want to make. Okay, but for a normal shirt, the back is close here, it's close. Okay, so what I will do is mark, let me get a straight line first. Let me get a straight line at this part. Okay, so we all the measurements you use for the back, for the front, you're going to repeat the same thing here. I'm going to repeat the same thing. Get a straight line. Come down by 1 inch. Connect up 3 inch. Connect to 3 inch. Then mark your armhole depth. Okay, get the midpoint of the armhole depth, which is 4. Mark ½ inch. This time around it is ½ inch you are going in here. Remember for the front we went in by 0.75, but here you will go in with ½ inch. Okay, the next thing, just like we have it the other time, I used 35 that time, and I told you I'm going to be trimming off any excess down here when I'm done. I just want to be on the silver side. I don't want it to be short because you want it to cover all our bonbon, having our hip. Okay, so I'm getting a straight line on all those parts. That's the hem, this is the waist, and then this is the bust line. You don't need any dots, you don't need any contouring for a shirt. It's a free shirt anyway. Okay, so for our bust we use 10.2. we added 2 inch to 10.2 to give us 12.2. So I'm putting in everything. The waist also supposed to be 8.5. That's 34 divided by 4. We're adding 2 inch to it, so we have 10.5. The hip as well is supposed to be 11 inches. That's 44 divided by 4. We're adding 2 inch to it. That's 13 inches. Okay, and then we'll connect all our lines. Okay, so I just did the cuff. I said this part I'm going to be cuffing it later when I'm done joining this back to the front. Okay, and then you connect the armhole cuff like so. And then for the back neck, you use the same width. I used 3.5 for the back. I'm using the same 3.5 here. And then for the depth, you can use ½ inch. You can use 0.75 up to 1 inch. Don't let it be more than 1 inch. For the depth of the back, 1 inch is enough. And then you are using this part of your ruler to do to make your cuff like so. Okay, so the next thing is for us to cut. Just cut it off. For the depth of the front, you can also use 3 inches, but I decided to use 3.5. Everything depends on your choice. So I'll cut. I'm not going to cuff this part. I'll cuff it when I'm done joining both sides. Okay, that is that. After that is how you cut your shirt dress. you can watch the next video for how I cut the sleeve and every other and the sewing. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel to get more video. Please press the notification bell so as to receive every video notification I drop on this channel. Thank you.